This video is going to go through all of the problems on your midterm review number 2. This is the excuse me, this is the Castlelearning worksheet that I gave you on Wednesday. So midterm review number 2, Castlelearning. You're going to solve this equation by doing factor by grouping. Well, the first thing you should see here is that there is a GCF of 6 that you can pull out. So this is 6 times 3x cubed minus x squared plus 6x minus 2 equals 0. And if you divide both sides by 6, 0 divided by 6 is still 0, so the 6 can just cancel out. Grouping says you're going to split it in half and pull out the GCF of the left half, which is x squared, and you're left with 3x minus 1. Pull out the GCF of the right half, which is 2, so you drop the plus down here, and you're left with 3x minus 1. And because these two in parentheses match, we can do factor by grouping. You couldn't do it if these did not match, but they do. So you're going to write this, the GCF is 3x minus 1, you're going to write this once, and what's left over is x squared plus 2. Set each factor equal to 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0, x squared plus 2 equals 0. If you add 1 and divide by 3, you're going to get x equals 1/3. Over here, if you subtract 2, you get x squared equals negative 2. And if you take the plus and minus square root of that, you get the square root of negative 2, which is I square root of 2, when you have a plus or minus in front of that. So the answer, it looks like, I don't know what the difference is between option 1 and option 2. Oh, there's an I here. So the answer is option 2, I square root of 2, plus and minus, and then the third. What are the values for x that are the roots of these? Well, you're going to do factor by grouping again. There's no GCF this time, so the left two terms have x to the third in them. So you're going to factor out an x to the third, and you're left with x minus 4. The second two terms have a factor GCF of 3, and you're left with 2x minus 1, and that's not going to work because those two don't match up. So we can't do factor by grouping. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our calculators out and see if we can find the x-intercepts. So we're going to do x to the fourth minus 4x to the third plus 6x minus 3. Take a look at that graph. There are 4 roots to this problem. You can see there's 1 here, 2 here, and 1 over here. So let's do second calculate the 0. Or actually the easier one would be to put y2 equals 0. I think that's how I taught you before. So y1 equals the polynomial that they gave you, y2 equals 0, and when you graph that, you can't see the y2 equals 0 because it's on the x-axis. So second calculate the intersection, option 5. Hit enter 3 times. There's one of the zeros, negative 1.26. Let's get the second one. Second calculate intersect. Let's move it over. And the second one is 0.66 positive. Second calculate intersection. Move the cursor over closer, and that would be equal to 1. And second calculate the intersection, and you got 1 more to go. And the last one is 3.6. So it looks like option 4 would be the answer to this problem, if I remember those answers correctly. Number 2. Let's see, the answer is 2. What did I do wrong? So I just realized when I went back and checked that, of course, option 4 is not the answer because positive 1 was the root, not negative 1. So it's not option 4. This worksheet has a typo because this should just say 3.6, not 3.66. So the roots that we got were these four, negative 1.26, 0.66, 3.6, and positive 1. So that's the answer for that one. Number 3, the inverse. If you switch x and y, you get the inverse. So you have 3y minus 2 equals 5x plus 7. Solving this for y, add 2 to both sides. 3y equals 5x plus 9. And then divide by 3. Y equals 5 over 3x plus 9 over 3, which is 3. So the answer to this one is option 1. Number 4. What is the domain? Well, the domain is all real numbers for a fraction except what makes the denominator go to 0. So if you factor this into x plus 3 times x minus 3, you know that negative 3 and positive 3 would make that go to 0. So the domain is all real numbers except for negative and positive 3, option 3. Number 5, the range. The range is the y values up and down. Well, it looks like the lowest y value, range is y. The lowest y value is 0, and then this kind of goes up forever and ever and ever and ever to infinity. So the answer is option 3, range is y's. Complete the square for number 6. X squared minus 10x plus blank equals negative 12 plus blank. Half of b is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. Factored into x minus 5 squared. 25 minus 12 is 13. Taking the plus and minus square root, you get x minus 5 equals plus and minus the square root of 13. So x is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 13. Looks like it's option 3. Number 7. What happened to y equals x squared when you have it transformed in this way? Well, inside parentheses is the right and left shifts. So this has been shifted to the right by 3. And outside the parentheses is the vertical or the up and down. So it's gone up 5, right 3. Looks like it's option 3. What happened to absolute value of x when you tack on a plus 4 at the end? Anything outside of the function is a vertical shift, and this means it went up 4 units, option 2. You could look at that in your graphing calculator also. Number 9, a regular absolute value graph would be down here starting at the origin. Well, what happened to this graph here? Transformed, it went to the left. 1, 2, 3, and it went up 2, left 3, up 2, means that you're going to have a plus 3 inside the absolute value and a plus 2 outside. So here's your function. And if you put this into y equals of your graphing calculator, you would get that graph. It would just go on and on forever. Number 10, domain and range. Well, domain and range of a function, I would probably look at the graph for the easiest way to get this answer. So the square root of x plus 2 domain is left to right. The leftmost point is negative 2, and it goes to the right forever. Range is lowest to highest. The lowest value is 0, and the highest goes up forever. So x is greater than or equal to negative 2, and y is greater than or equal to 0, right from the graph. The next question, number 11, determine the center and the radius of this circle. This is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the center is the opposite of these numbers. So the center is at x equals 1 and y equals negative 9. And the radius is the square root of this number, which is 4. On number 12, you have to do a complete the square twice. one for the x's and one for the y's. So the first thing you're going to do is move the 33 over and call it a negative 33. And then you're going to do x squared minus 12x plus blank plus y squared plus 2y plus blank, whoops, equals negative 33 plus blank plus blank. And what goes in the blank is half of b squared. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So half of b is 6, and 6 squared is 36. So you add 36 to both sides. Half of 2 is 1, so you add 1 to both sides. And then when you factor this, it'll become x minus 6 squared, that's the x part, plus y plus 1 squared, that's the y part, is equal to negative 33 plus 36 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So the center is at x equals 6 and y equals negative 1, and the radius is the square root of 4, which is 2. And then the last one, f of g of x, you're going to take the g of x, which is x minus 3, and put it in place of this x right here that's in f. So instead of x squared, it's going to be x minus 3 squared. And since we never distribute the exponent through a binomial, we know that this is a FOIL of x minus 3 times x minus 3. So if you FOIL that, you get x squared minus 3x is minus 6x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. X squared minus 6x plus 9, option 3 will be the answer. And that's the end of this video.